You're listening to the Life Friendly Business Podcast. I'm your host, Erin Thomas Wong, business mentor, author, and founder of the Cocoon VIP membership, empowering women around the world to build businesses on their terms. If you want to grow and scale a business that works in harmony with your family and your life, this podcast is for you. Hello and welcome to episode 27 of the Life Friendly Business Podcast. I'm your host, Erin Thomas Wong, business mentor and coach. So you may, if you're watching this, be seeing that the podcasts are now being recorded as vodcasts so that I can share both the video and the podcast so that hopefully more people can get access to all these tips that I'm giving and hopefully the value that you are receiving. So whether you are an avid podcast listener or not, you will still be able to enjoy these episodes. So today, this topic has actually been requested by a listener and I thought it's actually very, very valid. We're going to be talking today about dealing with rejection, which is something that as small business owners, we all need to face and something that we will experience fairly regularly, perhaps, because the fact is that the average conversion rate for sales is between 2 and 5%. So that means that out of every 100 people that you approach, technically, only 2 to 5 of them will actually buy from you. Now, obviously, if you're promoting on social media, then, that's a very different feeling because you're putting it out there and, hundreds of people might see it and just a few people buy. But when you're actually approaching people one-on-one, it means that, you are going to have to deal with rejection in order to get the people that do say yes. So every no leads to a yes. That's something to remember with this. But I'm sure that we've experienced, and I personally have experienced many times, that awful feeling in your stomach where you've had an email and maybe someone wasn't very happy or someone has cancelled their membership with you or asked for a refund. Oh my God. Or decided that actually they don't want to work with you anymore. Or perhaps it's not as direct as that. Maybe it's the fact that, you might have thought that someone was an ideal fit for what you do. And they've said, no, I'm not interested. Or even worse, they've just ghosted you and not replied. And we get all this inner turmoil going on about what are they thinking about me? This is, it's just awful. And what's really sad about this, about these feelings that we have, is that it completely overshadows all of the positive stuff. So, you could have 50 positive testimonials or reviews, and then you have one that's bad or even slightly bad, and you're just like, and that's the one that we focus on. And this is something that we really need to get on top of, and we need to be really strict with ourselves that we won't let these things blow out of proportion. But there is very useful stuff that we can take from this. So I know that when I've had these experiences in the past, and, I run a membership, the Cocoon online membership, and, part of being a membership site owner is that there is a natural churn. And the churn is that, that people leave, people come, and sometimes they stay for a long time, sometimes they stay for a short time. Sometimes it's in between and they just leave with no mention, no message, nothing. They just cancel their membership. That is all part of the course, but it doesn't mean that you don't feel it. And, when it's your baby, especially when it's something that you've created or it's about working with you, you're bound to take it personally. And, my mum always says to me, stop taking it personally. It's not about you. And there are two things there. It is kind of personal in a way because, like I say, it's my brainchild or it's about my services. And because we are small business owners, you are the only one in the business. Often it's very different to when you are an employee of a big organization and people slag off the organization. You don't feel the same kind of offendedness as you do when it's your own small business. But also, I agree that we shouldn't take it personally, ideally, because it's not necessarily about us. It's about them. It's about the customer. It's about the fact that, Well, there's a few things here. One is, are they actually the right fit for your product or service in the first place? Are they your ideal client? Were they your ideal client when they joined? We cannot service everyone. We need to be as focused as possible about who it is that we're speaking to and what stage they're at in their life, and how we can help them. And that's not going to fit everyone, and that's totally okay. So are they the right fit for your business anyway? If they are actually the right fit for your business and they are your ideal client, even though this is just one person, it's really useful to do a bit of reflection about why they haven't seen the value in this. Because that's what it is about. It's about the fact that they haven't seen the value in it. It doesn't necessarily mean they don't like you as a person. And that's instantly what comes to mind for many of us. Why can't they see the value? So that could be that within the product or service, that there's more that you could be doing to communicate the value or to help them get the result that they think they want from it. But also it could be going back to the marketing of it. Are you describing what you're offering accurately and clearly so that they can self-recognize? Is that the word? So that, they can say, yes, this is what I need. And I can see that if I do this, if I buy this, that it's going to solve the problem that I have. So first of all, thinking about, are they the right fit in the first place for what you're offering? Number two, are you communicating the value well enough within the product or service, whatever it is? Like, are there tweaks that you could make that would make that more clear for them? But then also, in the first place, before they've bought, are you describing accurately what it is that the offer is? And that's where one thing that, especially with online businesses, and I'm not suggesting that any of you are doing this, but, there's a lot of hot air, isn't there, over things, lots of empty promises and all those kind of things, especially in the online coaching world, sadly. And, people feel let down and they have buyer's remorse and things like that. So make sure that you are genuinely sharing what value your product or service will bring, and then think about when they buy that, how you can explain the value. And for example, a really good idea is to have an onboarding email sequence when they've bought something from you. And this is whether you're an online business or an offline business. Like, think about how you are communicating with your clients or customers once they've bought from you, and are you guiding them to use your product or service in the way that it should be used to get the best result. So, even though you don't want to take it personally, you need to try really hard not to take it personally, because it doesn't mean they don't like you. And to be honest, even if they don't like you, does it matter? Like, not everyone's going to like us, and we have to get through that. And, I'm saying that now. I've done a lot of work on myself for this because I am a complete people pleaser, and I do want people to like me. Of course I think most people do, don't they? My husband always says, like, oh, you just want people to like you. And I'm like, isn't that quite human nature, that we want to connect with people? But, I have got to a point now where I recognize that, not everyone likes each other, and that's okay. And you have to resonate with the person or the brand that you are buying from. So I just wanted to share something actually that was really, really useful for me. Was that this was a couple of years ago now. I had a Cocoon member who was with me for, a few months, 6 months or something like that. And when she cancelled her membership, I said to her, I'd really love any feedback. And I always do that. When people cancel the membership, I always ask for feedback as to why. Not everyone replies, but when they do, it's really, really useful. And this one woman replied, and she said that, she was part of another membership, and with this other membership, the host of the membership had a call with her at the beginning and got to know about her business. And then she was able to point her in the right direction, or, connect her with other members who were relevant to her, whether it could be potential customers or just collaborators or whatever. And I was like, okay, well, I could do that. I can definitely do that. And so I introduced a new member call, which everyone who joins the Cocoon gets an email saying, would you like to book in a 20-minute call with me? And on that call, I get to know more about them. And I also am able to suggest particular training that they can dive straight into. So instead of kind of walking into this membership and being like, right, where do I start, feeling a bit fumbling around, we have this orientation call and they can hit the ground running. But also it's absolutely true that once I've had that conversation with them, I get to know them and I am able to then think of them and connect them with other people. And not everyone takes up the new member call, I have to say, but those that do, you can see the difference in that. So that was actually really valid feedback. And although at the time, it really did make me wobble and I felt a bit of imposter syndrome thinking, well, this other membership site owner's doing this and they're doing it better than me and all this, just, we're all learning. It is all a journey and we can take on these nuggets of feedback to our benefit. And I'm not saying that every negative comment that people make is valid, because sometimes it's not. And sometimes you can see that, it's emotionally led with something else that's going on. Often, like I say, them saying no, people rejecting us isn't necessarily that we've done something wrong. It can also be that, they've got other stuff going on. They don't have the time to use the product or service. They're feeling overwhelmed, all those different things. So have a think about that. Have a think about, next time you get some kind of negative feedback, actually, is there something positive that you can take from it? Because the truth is that we don't know what we don't know. And we learn all the time. And, that's perfectly okay. And that is how we learn, evolve and grow as a business owner. So doing a survey is something that is worth thinking about actually on a regular basis, but especially if you feel like you're getting lots of negative comments or feedback, or even a few, but it's kind of clouding your judgment. Do a survey, find out what people want, find out how they're using your product or service, what they think of it, whether they'd recommend it. And, right now I am working on a survey for my Cocoon membership because that's been running for 5 years now this year. And I have done surveys sporadically. And like I say, I do have a cancellation survey for everyone that cancels, that I ask them to give me feedback. But I'm working on a survey right now to work out what needs freshening up, what needs changing, what needs introducing, because we need to get that feedback from our customers. We can't assume that we know what things look like from their point of view. We need to ask them. And it's scary. It's scary to put yourself out there and say, do you like this? Because some people will say, no, or it could be better, or I've seen a better one, but we must do that. And that's where we have to be a little bit vulnerable, and we have to grow a thick skin and be resilient as well. And I am going to be quite cheesy right now and finish this podcast episode with one of my favorite quotes, which is from The Greatest Showman. If you haven't seen The Greatest Showman, where have you been? The quote is, you don't need everyone to love you, just a few good people. And that is true in business as well. So I hope this episode has been useful. Please do reach out and let me know at Life Friendly Biz, and let me know if there's anything that you would like me to cover, any topics about running a business, especially around family life, and I'd be happy to do it. All right, see you next week. Would you like to join me in person for a whole day of CEO thinking time, practical business training, and inspiration to help you keep the momentum going in your business? The Momentum Day one-day event is taking place on Thursday, the 10th of March in Bournemouth, UK. Space is extremely limited, so book today to guarantee your place at this not-to-be-missed in-person event of the year for women in business. Get your ticket now at lifefriendlybusiness.com/momentum.